Hello. Welcome to Time of Death. I'm your host, Dee.
And I'm your other host, Ris.
And together we are two sisters who are also nurses who do this podcast every Wednesday. So welcome and hello.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
You sound like a newscaster.
I wish I had the voice to be a newscaster. If you're new here, welcome. We like to...
Welcome. How did you do that? That sounded so convincing.
Did it really?
Yeah.
We are two nurses that like to talk true crime. We like to focus on cases that feature a medical professional as the perpetrator or the victim. Or we like to focus on cases that have a heavy medical influence to them. Dee, back to you.
Thanks, Riz. And I'm joining in from downtown Time of Death. Here we have Bubba the cat who just posted on Instagram.
Go check him out reading a book.
I thought you were reading to him.
He was reading to me.
He was reading to you. He's held like a baby. Okay.
Mom says he's a very talented cat. It's just true. It's very true.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Take it away.
It's not my turn.
All right.
I don't think.
So this week we are taking it back, and I mean way back. Back to 1518.
Jeez.
So 16th century AD.
Wow.
No BC.
No BC. No BC.
Have you heard of Saturday Night Fever?
Yeah.
With John Travolta.
Mm-hmm.
That actually was a track by the Bee Gees.
Interesting. What does this have to do with the 1500s?
How about Dancing Queen by ABBA?
Of course I've heard that. I love Dancing Queen.
Okay, so this was your spoiler for this week about what might be going down in the 16th century AD.
Dee drove me home from work the other day and said, "Here's your hint," and started singing Dancing Queen.
So, like Riss just said, Dee, what are you talking about? These two jams didn't take place in 1518. Well, my pretty, this is just two examples of the power of music and the mysterious way in which dance can captivate and affect individuals as well as communities.
Like Footloose.
Oh, I should have freaking used that one.
Grease?
Yep.
Grease. I loved Grease too.
You just love John Travolta. That's why
I did. I had a
referred.
crush on young John Travolta.
No,
I had
she had a
both.
crush.
I loved young John Travolta.
And he is a babe.
Okay.
He was a babe. In what's the movie with Jamie Lee Curtis?
Oh, Halloween?
No. With John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis, where they're dancing. They're like gyrating.
Pulp Fiction?
No.
He's in Pulp Fiction though, isn't
He's
he?
in Pulp Fiction. What's the movie? Let me Google it. Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's like they do like a very sexual dance scene.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, all I seen was the sexy dancing scene. All I saw was the sexy dancing. There was a movie, but I had to look up what it was called, and I just saw a scene from the movie. I seen a scene. Anyways,
I seen the scene.
saw a scene, seesaw. Anyways, so dance can serve as like an outlet for expression, social interaction, and even be an indicator of what societal anxieties or tensions are at that time.
So interesting.
Yep. So picture it. July 1518. So how many years? That is
A long time ago. 506.
506 years ago. Wow. Can you imagine? 506 years ago.
No.
But picture it. A woman named Frau Trophia just out of nowhere starts dancing intensely on a street in Strasbourg. She continued dancing non-stop for 1 week.
What?
And before you know it, 36 other people joined her.
Did she die?
Bear with me.
Wait. Okay.
Your answer shall be
How can
given in
someone
due time.
dance for a week straight? Like
Just
your
listen.
body,
It
your
gets more-
muscles
it
would
get-
break
It
down.
gets so much more wild.
All right, I'm ready.
1 month later, and the dancing plague had affected over 400 people. People were collapsing, and many people actually died from strokes or heart attacks. The cause of this phenomenon remained unknown, baffling the authorities and physicians who were unable to provide a cause or a cure. By early September...
Here's your cure. Stop dancing.
Stop!
But I was thinking,
You don't think they tried that?
yeah, they must have.
They had to try that. They
I don't
tried-
know. Listen, we don't know why this is happening.
By early September, the outbreak began to slow down after dancers were sent to a mountain shrine to pray for help and forgiveness for whatever had caused this to happen. Historical records like physician notes, cathedral sermons, and just local accountings of the time confirm that individuals were dancing, though the reason behind their actions remain unknown. The outbreak originated from Frau Trufau, a single woman. I can't get through it.
Fro truffle.
Isn't this a crazy story, though? I should have known better than to choose this freaking story, because Mom loves to dance, and I know she's gonna have a million
Yeah.
questions about it.
I do have a question.
What?
Were they altered?
Dude, you have to listen.
All right.
You have to listen.
Where was this?
Strasbourg.
Where is that? Germany?
France.
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 It's
It's
Frau
always the
Frau.
freaking French episodes I have such a hard time.
We're international.
Oh my god. All I'm saying, every time there's a French word or a French name, the episode just gets away from me.
It's okay. Continue.
It's not their fault. It's just as hard.
It's not their fault. Don't blame the French.
Don't blame the French.
Okay. So this all takes place in Strasbourg, which was France. And is France. So the outbreak originated from that single woman, Frau Trufau.
You do this to yourself.
They were dancing. Fro was dancing to and fro. Fro truffle was dancing to and fro.
Please sing wrong. It's probably like the people from France listening are probably like, this
These idiots.
every time trying to do French.
And
I'm not even trying to do the accent. I just want to say the word right. That's all I want. I got Strasbourg, but not much.
oh my god.
The outbreak originated from, I can't even say her name, a single woman who just started compulsively dancing. Eventually, the public dancing was banned. Some believe the plague was a punishment from Saint Vitus.
I would just sedate everybody.
They have to be thirsty. Alcohol.
But so public dancing was banned, and they thought it was a punishment. So the people who were afflicted by this dancing plague were directed to wear specially prepared attire and perform rituals at Saint Vitus's shrine, which ended up bringing an end to the epidemic, actually, interestingly enough.
Wow.
Why did poor Saint Vitus get the bad rap?
What bad rap?
That he was punishing all these people.
Oh.
They were praying for his food.
No, they thought it was a punishment from the saint. So, according to tradition, Saint Vitus was a Christian from Sicily who became known for his faith and miracles. He's often invoked against epilepsy, nervous disorders, and things of that nature. And they considered the dancing similar to the involuntary and uncontrollable movements with epilepsy.
Just give them some medication to chill them out. That's what we do
What
for
would you
seizures.
what would you give them?
Versed.
No, as
Have that medication.
yeah, they didn't have that medication.
Well, you know,
well,
Why?
give them wine.
that's a depressant.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. So, throughout history, there have been similar occurrences all throughout medieval times, suggesting a historical pattern of these mysterious dancing outbreaks. Explanations back in the day ranged from demonic possession to overheated blood.
Fever.
Fever.
Maybe it's fever.
That's why I said Saturday Night Fever. Dancing, bro. So, at its peak, the plague claimed approximately 15 lives a day.
Wow.
And it lasted for months. There's some question if anyone actually died. So it was just radically different. It's either one or the other. Either 15 people were dying a day or none, because there's contradicting reports. There are virtually no existing records from that time that specifically mention fatalities. If reports of 15 daily deaths were accurate, casualties would have reached the hundreds. So this 15 lives a day was a reporting from years later. It was not at that time. The historical references that they're using, the sources, do not mention any deaths. But years later, it was accounted by the survivors or people who had witnessed the account, and they're the ones who attributed up to 15 lives a day. So who knows what actually is the truth in that situation? I'm bound to believe that if they were imploring the state to intervene,
Yeah.
people were probably dying, as well as like implementing these giant mess halls to have people rest. Like, clearly, if people were just like dancing and then just able to recover afterwards, it wouldn't have been such a pressing issue.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it seems like something else was going on.
Absolutely.
And also, you know, when you're moving like that and your muscles are just, you know, overworked and your heart's overworked, like, yeah, you can have disastrous effects, like,
So-
to that extent. Like, we see, like, rhabdomyolysis and in athletes or people who, it's muscle breakdown, the breakdown of muscle. And, you know, people who overuse their muscles, they can have a lot of pain and their muscles are literally breaking down as a result.
Could have been breakdancing. They could have hit their head or something.
They're breaking 15.
Who knows? Where did it originate?
Friends. So Riz, if we were back in 1518, but you had access to medical supplies of the 21st century we're in, how would you manage the care of these
I
patients?
told you I'd chill them out. I didn't give them some fluids.
Send them on their way.
Versed fluids.
Psychotic.
Make them chill out for a long time.
Yeah.
So probably antipyretics for,
Yeah.
they probably have fevers.
Overheated blood.
Yeah.
Use some slugs.
You know, support them. They're probably in a lot of pain too from that constant activity.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No fluid. They sound manic to
Yeah.
more than anything else, but a group of people becoming manic all at the same time, it doesn't make sense. Let me give you some theorized explanations. So some experts suggested the dancing could have been triggered by food poisoning induced by toxic and psychoactive chemicals produced by ergotism, or the ergot fungi, which commonly infects grains like rye that's used in bread production. Ergotamine is the primary psychoactive substance of ergot fungi, and it's closely related to lysergic acid diethylamide, or LSD.
That could do it.
The original basis for LSD synthesis. The same fungus has been implicated in other notable historical events, such as the Salem witch trials.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So there are two types of ergotism: convulsive or gangrenous. So these people, if they did have ingested this fungi, they would have had the convulsive type. So this type is characterized by neurological symptoms, including convulsions, muscle spasms, and even hallucinations.
So maybe their dancing was convulsion. Were convulsions.
There's also I'm going to offer other explanations as well. The convulsive symptoms can range from mild twitching to severe seizures resembling epilepsy. Hallucinations may include visual distortions or tactile ones, including burning, crawling skin, and this historically contributed to the belief in the supernatural afflictions during different types of outbreaks. Gangrenous is the second type, and essentially what that is severe constriction of blood vessels caused by ergot alkaloids. So, fancy word for saying fungi. The constriction leads to reduced blood flow, resulting in tissue death. Other symptoms can be burning, pain, numbness, discoloration, and eventually the fingers, toes, and other extremities begin to rot off.
Yeah.
Secondary infections may occur, but overall, if it was ergotism, it would have been the convulsive type. Historically, ergotism outbreaks have been linked to periods of widespread hunger and poverty. One example of this would be poor harvest conditions actually increase the likelihood of grain contamination. During that time, guess what? There was issues with food. So it is a plausible explanation. How do you treat convulsive ergotism? Well, you can use a little handy-dandy dopamine agonist like bromocriptine, which can help reduce symptoms by counteracting the effects of the fungi on the dopamine receptors.
Oh, that's interesting.
No, so basically it was just supportive therapy if it was this cause.
Is this around today, this condition?
Yep.
Wow.
Rye bread. If you eat rye bread that's not been prepared or is there some kind of exposure, you can have ergotism.
I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Now if you have the gangrenous type, they give you anti-migraine medications like triptans, like sumatriptan. And that's actually used to manage the vascular symptoms, which I thought was also really cool.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. All these off-label uses.
Dropping some facts.
Yeah.
You know what bromocriptine is used for?
No.
Bromocriptine is also used...
Wait. Let me guess. Bromides in pineapple. Isn't that a kind of like enzyme in pineapple? Is it from pineapple poisoning?
Yes, pineapple poisoning. I don't know about that. I'm gonna Google the pineapple poisoning.
I don't think it's real.
But it's used for neuroleptic malignant syndrome. So
Oh, yes. Tell us about neuroleptic malignant syndrome, Dee.
why you gotta put me on this spot?
You know this, don't you? All these antipsychotics.
It's very rare, but essentially, if someone has multiple antipsychotics on board, they are at risk for NMS, neuroleptic malignant syndrome. So basically, stop the antipsychotic. People have high temps, which overheated blood.
Yeah.
Respiratory failure, renal failure. They have like this lead pipe rigidity, which is hallmark sign for this. But essentially, you don't want to have that complication. So take your meds as prescribed. Don't mess around.
And what kind of meds are these?
Antipsychotics can cause this. Instead of LSD, another explanation is that this is a case of a fully developed psychogenic movement disorder occurring within a context of mass hysteria or mass psychogenic illness. So, you guys have heard of mass hysteria, right? So mass hysteria is basically like people... Have you ever seen the episode of House where they're on the plane and then people like start getting a rash and then people start throwing up and then everyone thinks that they have like an airborne illness that they've been exposed to? And it turns out that one person had gone deep sea diving and he had the bends.
It's like widespread panic.
Basically, people are more it's like a suggested
No, it's so
There's no like thing to back it up.
So many individuals suddenly display the same kind of unusual behavior. This behavior spreads like rapid fire, resembling an epidemic pattern. Such behavior can be triggered by heightened psychological distress, exacerbated by harsh conditions. Again, this was a stressful time in history, 1518 Strasbourg. During that time, there was not only famine, but there was an epidemic also of smallpox and syphilis. So this was a very stressful time.
I bet.
So it would make sense for people to be on alert, on edge, and very suggestive.
And with the rise of syphilis and venereal disease, people were curbing and maybe not engaging in their sexual habits, and the dancing became an
Substitute.
or
Release.
manifested and a release for the sexual act.
They must have been really frustrated to have to dance for weeks straight.
It must have been very harassed. But that could have been
Sexually frustrated.
like a different part of it, and they were a little more suggestible because they were stressed on a lot of different levels. So this idea that this was stress-induced psychosis, combined with a population prone to superstition. So these people are thinking, "Oh my God, that Frau Troff, how did you say it? That
Frau Truffle.
is a little instigator. Maybe she was considered a witch. Who knows? But she started a revolution.
That's like, who's the one that started one of those plagues? Do you remember that? She like, was a female.
Oh, Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary. What?
It's definitely not it. What's the name? The wet nurse that the cook.
Yeah, she's a cook or something.
Cook. Typhoid Mary.
Oh, Typhoid Mary.
Typhoid.
Bloody Mary.
You agree?
I know. It's like, wait, Bloody Mary.
Bloody Mary. I needed Bloody Mary.
Typhoid Mary.
Typhoid Mary. Not to be confused with any of the other Marys.
Did they think it was related to smallpox at all?
No.
This dancing?
They didn't say that, but there were reported 7 other instances of dancing plague within Europe during the same era.
That's interesting.
Because I think the most likely culprit is the mass hysteria argument because of the rapid spread, the imitation aspect, and oftentimes this people in this situation who find themselves in the midst of mass hysteria, they get relief when they're in a different environment. And these people had gone to St. Vitus's shrine. So, and if you remember, they were cured at that point. So going to the new area gave them relief from their symptoms. Change of environment is the key here.
So you think it's psychological?
I always think it's psychological.
Yeah. Take it from a psych nurse. It's all psychological. I think Mom says we create our own reality.
And she's right.
She's very right.
So I think it's just an interesting case because, we'll never really know what the answer was, but I think it's fun to speculate.
Yeah.
Is this people tripping out on LSD? Is this mass hysteria? Is this, even the fact that Ris brought up a great point, is this some weird, bizarre complication of smallpox? We will never know.
But people were dancing for weeks at a time.
Weeks. It went on from July to August.
That's crazy to me.
Like multiple months this went on.
But like, how can you dance for a week straight? Like, your body would give out at a certain point. You would be unable to.
Their bodies must have been giving out, even if the report about 15 a day dying was not accurate. People had to have been collapsing from exhaustion.
But they didn't eat. They didn't
No.
go to the bathroom. They didn't sleep.
No, they didn't sleep. They had halls that were dedicated for these people that the
They didn't
dancers
sleep for weeks, so they died because they didn't sleep.
Yeah.
Or they didn't eat. And if you're gonna be on LSD, I don't know about this, but it lasts 3 months. Being a high.
If they're continuing to if their one food source is continuing to be contaminated and they're getting repeated exposure to LSD.
There's a song by Florence and the Machine called Dance Fever, and it's about the dancing plague from
Really?
1518. Yeah.
She's so cool. Isn't this a cool case though?
I love to dance. And when I go out with my friends and we listen to live music, we dance almost every dance for the whole night, but then I come home and I'm tired and I want to sleep.
Imagine doing that for months.
I can't imagine doing it for a couple days. I mean, maybe at most it's 6-7 hours.
It said initially that Strasbourg officials set up like a wooden stage and hired musicians to play. Did you say that? To play for it. That's kind of crazy.
What?
It says here, too, that in 2011 at Leroy Junior Senior High School in New York, that 12 girls, teenage girls, started twitching. And it, like, kind of resembled Tourette syndrome. And they thought that they, like, explored possible causes for this. But eventually they did, like you were saying, Dee, attributed it to mass hysteria.
They had an episode, I want to say 1960s, that was like a laughing thing where these girls and women are more susceptible to mass hysteria. So just making that clear out the gate. These young girls, they were in some kind of school, of some sort, and they could not stop laughing.
Yeah. It's like a big stress reaction.
Absolutely. And depending on the political climate, the individual stressors, like mass hysteria is not something you have to be aware of it in order to address that it's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Women have been, maybe not so much now, but they had to be taken care of. They were supposed to be married. They were supposed to.
Delicate flowers as we are.
Yeah. And maybe that's that was the reason why they were the victims of this mass hysteria.
Yeah.
Or so.
You know what kind of flower I am?
Petunia.
No. A Venus flytrap.
I don't think that's technically a flower.
No. Why you gotta throw me under the bus like that, Riz?
Why would you say that's what you are?
Because I wanted something that sounded really tough.
No, you are right. It's a flowering perennial plant. Wait, perennial. I'm like perennial.
I didn't even flinch. I just said, yeah, you're right.
It's a flowering perennial. How do you say that? Perennial plant.
It's
I am a flower.
Look at flowers. I did not know that it flowered.
Oh, it's cute.
It's kind of cute.
It is me. It is me.
That's Dee. Dee, my little Venus flytrap.
Does they smell nice?
Probably not.
Don't smell it.
Why is it called fly?
Because flytrap. It's the plant that.
Get out.
Yeah. You never heard of that?
It eats flies.
Yes.
I don't know about that. How could a plant eat flies?
It catches them.
It's teeth.
It's beautiful. It's a little like a cactus, and there's a fly in it.
They are cute plants.
Holy cow.
I'm a cute girl.
You are cute, yeah.
What's your flower type?
Me? I don't know.
Just gonna choose something really over the top.
Let's see.
I thought you would say petunia.
I'm going to do a quiz. What flower am I?
Let me do it too.
I'm a rose. Shocker. I already knew that. I literally know I would be a rose.
I haven't told you of a rose.
Because you were obsessed with me. Right, Mom?
What's up?
I would be a rose.
I think you both 50.
D is a Venus flytrap. Mom, you'd probably be a rose too.
I think I'd be a rose because it's my favorite flower.
We'd both probably be roses.
We'd all be roses.
I'm a lily.
You would be a lily. This was the worst test I've ever taken.
I said a cat lily.
Grandma,
What did it
else?
say you?
Rose.
It did say rose?
I have you right on my forearm wrist. I gotta rip it off.
What? What? All right. You got anything else to say about this week's case?
No, I think we gotta call it.
D, excellent case. I love hearing about weird dancing plagues. You know what? I've kind of heard some weird stuff like that before, but it's interesting to hear the full story.
If you ever go to the hospital and you have a right hand tremor,
Yeah.
you're suffering from mass hysteria.
We are not able to give advice.
If you ever say, oh my god, one of my symptoms is a right-handed tremor, that's on house.
Mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria.
That's mass
There's such a
hysteria.
thing as mass hysteria.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
It's so real.
An example of it. When
The dancing plague of 1518.
You know, like, say there was a shooter
Yeah.
at a concert and everyone's screaming, running to get out.
No, that's not it, Riz.
It's mass hysteria.
Riz, that's not.
Yeah, but that's real life.
Oh, wait.
That's
Say
Bible.
you hear there's a shooter. There's no real shooter. But you heard it. And you tell everyone, there's a shooter. There's a shooter.
It's horrible.
Mass hysteria.
Fire, crying, fire.
No, that's not it.
What is it then?
Not it.
What is it then?
That's thinking. No.
The little boy.
No, it's something that's not a real threat. Not a shooter
Yeah.
is a real threat.
No, the shooter's not real. You just heard it.
It's
I just said.
You're just afraid. Or the kids are afraid to go to school because the mass shooter that happened
I
in
give up.
another state.
I don't
No, but that's true.
That's
A
true.
lot of kids are terrified
Right?
to go to school today because of the killings that's happened in schools. Even though it didn't happen in their school, it's not actively going on now. They're afraid to go to school. There's a hysteria. Isn't that what it is?
I don't know. D, what's mass hysteria? Give us an example.
I think that's a mass hysteria example.
But there's a real threat. That's the only problem.
Well, an example of mass hysteria.
What's the internet say?
The June bug epidemic of 1962, where a textile factory in the United States,
Don't read verbatim.
workers basically began experiencing symptoms like dizzy, nausea, rash, and believe they had been bitten by an insect. Because it's a June bug epidemic. Despite investigation, no physical cause of the insect was ever found. The outbreak was attributed to mass psychogenic illness, which, again, mass hysteria.
Okay, but my example of kids that live in California that are afraid to go to school because of the shooting in Connecticut.
I don't
No,
know.
it's different because mass hysteria are when symptoms spread through psychological factors rather than an actual physical cause. So it's having a symptom that is psychologic in order. In is a physical illness that has a psychological cause.
Oh, so you need to have physical symptoms. So just
Yes.
because they're panicking doesn't mean that it's mass hysteria.
Oh,
It has to be a physical symptom in the context of psychological stressor.
Is that true?
Yeah,
I thought mass hysteria was just
this is about psychogenic illness. This is not talking about
Oh, okay.
mass hysteria where everyone's freaking out. This is psychogenic.
So
Okay.
You have physical symptoms, even though it's a psychological fear.
Yes.
All fear is psychological.
Let's not even go down.
So what's mass hysteria then?
Mass hysteria is another word for psychogenic illness.
Are you sure?
Really? And what's this thing about? All fear is psychological. If you're afraid of flying in a plane, that's psychological.
It's a form of mass hysteria. Psychogenic illness is a form of mass hysteria. Mass hysteria is a phenomenon where a group of people simultaneously experience similar physical or psychological symptoms without identifiable physical cause.
All right, let's call it. The time is 1952. That is 7:52 p.m. for those of you that do use military time. We are checking out.
Peace out, Boy Scout.
Peace out.
Bye,
Want to say
guys.
bye?
Good night. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
That's all for now.
That's all for now.
Farewell.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.
Bye.